Give me only 10 minutes of your time, and I dare tell you that 2025 will be your best year ever. Were you facing some challenges? You didn't achieve your last year's target? You had some difficulties? You wished you had somebody to handhold you, to sit you down and tell you, hey, you know what? Focus on this and not the other, and not focus on all of this. Just pick one thing and do it. Get what I'm saying? So give me the next 10 minutes and I'm gonna make this 2025 year the best year ever. Let's get into the business. But before we do that, perhaps you're watching me for the first time and you're wondering, who is this guy? This is Good Joseph. And what I do, I make videos pertaining investments. What does it mean? Investing your cash, finances, anything related to your cash, managing it, investing it, growing it, safeguarding it, and anything related to businesses and what have you. So it's a channel that you ought to subscribe so that you never miss any of my good uploads at any given moment. So go ahead and hit that subscription button. Make sure that you like the video. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you very much. Let's get on the business now. I borrowed your only 10 minutes that's gonna transform your life. It's only 10 minutes. Now, what exactly am I gonna talk to you in this particular thing? I'm making this video. We are still on our first month of 2025. I'm barely making this video on 26th of January. Okay, we are 4 days shy away from kicking off our first month. Now, what are you exactly supposed to do for you to achieve something? First of all, you have identified that you've been facing difficulties in achieving a goal or a target or a need that you want in a particular year. You've been postponing to start that particular business. Why? Number one, either you surrounded by fear or paranoid. Two, you actually don't even have the capital to start that particular business. Three, you would love to get investing, but you fear investing. You don't even understand. Will your money be safe? What exactly should I supposed to do? People are investing. People, you are still skeptical. People are moving and progressing. Now, this is what I'm gonna tell you. Take your pen and paper. Write down all the 10 things or 20 things or 50 things that you'd love to achieve. Are we together? It doesn't have to be this particular year. Just write down the 10 most important things that matters a lot to you. Are we together? You just anyhow, just write them from 1, 2, all the way to the 10th one. Okay? Now, this is what I want you to do. Go ahead and check out all the things that you wrote. Let's say maybe perhaps you want to say buy a car, okay? You want to buy a car, you want to buy a house, or you want to build whichever the thing it is, you want to start a business. Just write them randomly, okay? Maybe let's say you want to get married. Are we together? You want to get married, or maybe you want to have kids. Are we together? You want to grow your spiritual life with God, spirituality. Just write all those things that you would love to work. You want to lose your weight or something of sort. Are we together? Just write them all down. So once you have the 10 of them, now I want you now to classify these things that you want to achieve. And how do I want you to classify these things? All these things, they are important to you. They are nice. You'd love to lose your weight, have kids, get married, buy a car, buy a house, all these things, they are important. But the fact remains, there are some which are more important compared to others. This is where now I want you to do something called the hierarchy of priorities. Hierarchy of priorities. There's something called the hierarchy of priorities. There are things that you can prioritize more than the other. Let me give you a very simple example. Let's say you want to buy a car. 2, you want to say lose weight. And 3, you want to take your kid to school. Let's say that's the beginning of the year. And the money you have, probably, let's say, it's enough to put a deposit for your car. The same money can actually take your kid to school comfortably, for God's sakes, when your kid that is starting to school or something of sort. Or you want to go enroll for a very premium gym. Among those three things, they are all important. But the fact remains, there are some that are important compared to others. For example, let's say taking your kid comes at the first or comes at the number 1. Therefore, it means of all the 10 things that you have, pick only one thing that you would say, hey, guess what? I have 10 things that I would love to achieve, but I'm going to focus on this year only on one thing. Let's say that one thing that you would love to achieve in this particular year is, say, accumulating capital to start a business, accumulating capital to start a venture, okay? Are we together? And that capital that you need, let's say, is 300K. Are we together? Remember, I'm just throwing random numbers to you. Work with the figure that is appropriate to you. Why? This 100K, you're looking forward, you wanted to start, or you've been wanting to start a what? A baby shop. Are we together? Now, you have now identified, I want this 300K by the end of this particular year because I want to start a baby shop. It's true, I need a car, true, I need... But if you were to work with all these things randomly, anyhowly, without a target, you'll actually stump around and you'll be able to achieve nothing. Are we together? Now, you pick this one. If that's what it means a lot to you. Now, what do you do once you pick this one? Once you pick this one, now you ask yourself, how much gets in my pocket at the end of the month, at the end of the day, or at the end of the week? Are we together? Let's say X amount of money, let's say that that is equivalent to say 50K. That's what gets or 70 or 100, whichever the amount of money that gets in your pocket. Then you do what we call the recurrent expenditure, that money that you usually spend each and every month to cater for your basic needs that you cannot, that you can't shake them off. Sorry, got some cold, okay? Now, the recurrent expenditure, these are your rent, these are your utilities, water, basic needs that you have to cater for the survival for your life. Now, once you do all those deductions, how much is left? And then you ask yourself, how much is left if you were to commit that amount of money continuously for the next 11 months, bearing in mind that the January is gone? Will you be able to raise the figure of 300? So if the answer is yes, then commit fully on that. Do not focus on any other thing. Don't focus on getting a car. Don't focus on that. If the finances allows you, it's okay, you can. But if the finances cannot allow you, you simply disturb your peace of mind with the things that you cannot even achieve. Let's say you can manage to save, say, 20,000 each and every month. You focus that 20,000 each and every month. At the end of the year, that would be like 240,000. It's barely enough for you to get the 300,000 if that was your target. Now, if it's barely to get you the capital to start a business and you still need a car, guess what happens now? Along the way, you'll be like, you know, even if I was to save the entire 20 G's at the end of the year, I'll get to 40. So I can't even start my baby shop. I can't even buy myself a car. Guess what happens? You have high chances of dropping up and be saying, you know what? I don't even care whatever I'm going to achieve. I'm going to throw parties, and you even don't feel any motivation and something of. So this is what you do. If you take the 200, the 20,000 or 25,000 or whichever the amount of money you manage to hit your 30 or 300,000, and then at the end of the year, true, you have only achieved one thing which mattered a lot to you. Guess what happens now? You're gonna start that business. That means on your list of to-do things, you have actually ticked out one, which is actually raising the cash to start that particular business, and then you're remaining with others. And this will be better. You still continue doing what you did to raise the 300. And now that you have a business in place, of course, in meaning that you'll be raising more than that. Therefore, if the car was the second important thing to you to achieve, then you can go ahead and do what? Focus on acquisition of that car. And remember, we have just assumed that nothing will happen in that particular year, just you raising this amount of money. For me, I am a witness that within period of 1 year, things can change tremendously. You're focusing on one thing, you realize you can even achieve 4 things or 5 things because things changes and favors and lucks and what have you comes in along the way. But what happens is that if you cannot focus on one thing, focus on it continuously, consistently, it becomes very, very hard for you to even achieve that single thing. So what do? The 10 minutes I borrowed, I asked you simply write down all the things that you'd love to achieve, focus on the things that are more priority or they are prioritized compared to others, then focus on achieving that particular thing consistently without relenting until the time that you achieve it. And the moment you achieve that particular thing, then you can focus on the next one, on the next one. I know this one may not really go well with some people, bearing in mind, yeah, you need all these things, but you are ignoring one for the sake of sacrificing to get the one. But there's something called delayed gratification. This is where you can delay the gratification a little bit and then you focus on, for example, back when I used to do the painting job or the interior job, well, I knew this job is not paying me the much I need. It's not really giving me the money that I want, but I focused on putting more effort on my videos, making content and what have you. I knew that one day this thing will actually pay me. Well, for sure, I uploaded those videos for more than 1 year and 4 months without nobody paying me, without nobody paying me nothing. And at the end of the time, then something came across and I was able to now see at least the fruits of my labor. Well, I can't say that I get a lot, but at least that when I get enough to motivate me and move to the next level and keep on pushing. And that is because of people like you. And that's why I always tell you, you mean a lot to this channel. And that's why I always tell you, hey, go ahead and make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you turn your notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I upload a new good video. Another way of looking this thing, or another way or another angle of looking at this particular approach of this particular year to make it the greatest year ever, they are very simple. And these are the things that you may tend to ignore, but they play a very big role. How about if you were to do this? This is the 2025 and you want to make it greater year or the greatest year ever in your life. Therefore, you have to do things that you have never done ever in your life. And what are these examples of these things that you have to do? Check out in your midst, in your circle, in your group of your friends, your family members, your relatives, your acquaintances, or people whom you work with, the colleagues, whatever the people you hang around with. Focus and see whether there is somebody who is where you would love to be. Simple. In that group of yours that you are in, focus and see whether there is an individual who is where you need to be or you want to be. If there is none, then you're in a wrong group. Then you need to look for somebody else who is there. Sure, they may not be where you want to be, but they are on a mission to be where you would like to be. Then that is an amazing group. But if they are not where you would like to be and they are not in a mission to be where you would like to be, therefore you will never get the zeal, the motivation, and of course what we call the motivation to achieve that what you want. So therefore, for you to achieve some of the greatest goals you need to achieve in life, it calls for you to shake off some of the friends that you have. If I tell you friends are the biggest problem or issues as far as your goals are concerned, would you believe? There are these people, you tell them, I would like to be a content creator. They shoot that idea down. You tell them, I would like to start a business. You do not meant for a business. You tell them, I would like to shake off weight. They tell you, you are lazy, you can't do it. You tell them, I would like to get married. You don't have the character. You don't even have the cash. You get what I'm saying? So friends plays a very vital role. So the high time to shake them off and look for people whom can actually challenge you to go and achieve that particular thing. If I listened to the friends whom I used to have, then of course we wouldn't be having a good Joseph today. But I decided to shake them off. Sometimes you even shake the most important people, quote unquote. You thought that they were the most important people in your life. You shake them off because at times when it comes to goal persuasion, when you're pursuing that particular goal, it's a very, very lonely journey. Most of the people never understand you, no matter how close they are. Even your parents, even your kids, even nobody. You find nobody can even understand you because you are solely dreamer of that particular goal. And that is exactly how you do it. It's a very lonely game. It's a very lonely journey, and that is exactly how you're supposed to achieve it or view it or perceive it. And that way, you can be able to achieve something. For God's sake, I've tried the best I can to make sure that in those 10 minutes, I've told you how you can make this year the greatest of all the years. And let me tell you one secret. If you do that, by the end of this year, if God gives us the grace and opportunity to witness the end of it, then we can be able to be somewhere and we can say, hey, guess what? That idea that I learned at the beginning of this year, that is why I am here, of course, with the grace of God. This is Good Joseph as always. If you'd like to get my services in one way or the other, go ahead and grab that number of mine from the description of this particular video. Give me a call or give me an email or a text. Then we can be able to talk about business. For now, it's a goodbye and see you in the next one.